We got to talk about one of the Chicago Bears' most debated picks, and that's Sam Roush. A lot of Bears fans looked at the third-round tight end pick and said, why? But Ben Johnson has made it very clear why the Chicago Bears have drafted Sam Roush, and it's a reason I think a lot of people are going to be able to make sense out of. So we're talking about that, plus two veterans that are linked to the Chicago Bears, and Taylor Decker and Cameron Jordan. We're talking about all that plus more right after this. What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host, Air Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. And yeah, man, I want to start off talking about this Sam Roush pick. Like, this is the pick that it seems like is the most debated pick among Chicago Bears fans. And, you know, people looking at us going tight end when we already have Cole Kmet, going tight end again for a blocking tight end. And, you know, even me and my boy Pat, the designer, have gone back and forth in regards to the Sam Roush pick. You know, people look at him as just a blocking tight end. This is a guy that I think can do more than just block personally. But it's one of the most debated picks that the Chicago Bears made amongst a draft that is already highly debated. Like, I'm sure many of you guys have been. I have been already in conversations just about this. And it's at the point where the draft is the draft at this point. Like, it's no one doing it. The Chicago Bears, you know, everybody has a level of confidence in regards to, you know, what this team's going to do. It seems like the coaching staff, everybody has confidence in regards to the team in the pass rush. But Sam Roush is a guy that got better every year as a receiving tight end. You look at his first year at Stanford, 34 yards, 2 receptions. His sophomore year, 288 yards off 28 receptions. His third year, 40 receptions for 334 yards. And then his last year, 49 receptions for 545 yards, 2 touchdowns. It's an average of 11.1 yards per reception there. But he's undoubtedly one of the best blocking tight ends in the game of football, right? And when you have somebody like Colston Loveland that is such a good route runner to the point where he may be the best route runner next to Luther Burden on this roster, you know, the long-term pairing there makes sense. But many Bears fans are questioning the fact that you went with that position that is looked at right now as not a huge need right now, whereas the defensive line was a huge need. And I think that that's a fair thing to have in regards to that. Now, Ben Johnson was asked directly in regards to the drafting of Sam Roush, and he said this. As my light goes out. I hate it when that happens during the live. But there we go. All right, with that said, he says this. He's a finisher through the whistle. I think that showed up on a consistent basis. It doesn't matter who he was blocking. Could be a big guy, could be a little defensive back, and he consistently finished through the whistle each and every play. You always love it when you have to take a player and you get a text message from somebody, one of the coaches at Stanford. He will crush himself to do whatever he can to help the football team, and it just verifies what you already thought about the player. So I feel good about that one. So, you know, Ben Johnson is showing a confidence in it, right? And for what it's worth, the Chicago Bears stuck with their mindset of drafting the best player available. We knew that coming into it. I told you guys for weeks and months that best player available was where the Bears are going to go. Now, even in me saying that, I did not expect us to not draft an edge at all, right? Like, I'm going to say that, but like, you can't be surprised by this mentality that the Bears have, because it's what that we've had literally since Ryan Poles has been here. It's been no different the whole entire time that Poles has been here. They're going to go best player available, even if that means that a position that's looked at as a position of need, you know, doesn't get the attention that many people think that it should and would. Now, when you look at next year's draft class, it's projected to be very deep in edge. It just is, right? Now, that doesn't mean like give the Bears a caveat or a thing on it. You still want to see what Austin Booker. You guys are betting on Austin Booker to make a leap? Great, let's see it. You guys are betting on Dayo Odeyingbo to have a better second year? Bet, let's see it, right? Like, that's the thing that comes down to. So with the Bears sticking to their mindset, and like I said on yesterday's episode, this is a mindset that's shared through the entirety of the organization. This is not just Ryan Poles going rogue. This is Ryan Poles working with Dennis Allen and working with Ben Johnson and determining what they're going to do and how they're going to target the draft. That's just the reality of it, right? Some people want to blame just Ryan Poles, but, you know, we talked about that on yesterday's episode. It is what it is. People are going to do what they do, right? But there's a confidence in Roush. And I think my mindset on everything when it comes down to this is the same. Is that all right? Go out and show it now, right? If that's what you're betting on, go out there and show it. And if we see it, then great, right? And we may not see it with Roush this year. We may not see it with Roush until maybe next year, right? We don't know what's going to happen there. But I'm saying that if that's the thing that you're going to go to, and that's what you're telling us and selling us on, is that you're believing in the players that we drafted, the development of players that you have here, great. Go out there and get it done and show us on the football field. The thing that I always like to go to and say is that, especially when I see Bears fans arguing amongst each other, none of us got to make this decision, right? Like none of us, no matter me on this show, you guys at home, none of us got a place in this decision. This is what the team wanted. This is what the team had envisioned, and we're going to have to live and die by that. Now, I'll say this, if our pass rush is still absolutely ass this season, then you best believe people are going to be having their pitchforks out, wondering, especially if the pass rush stops us from making the next step next year, and that's rightfully so. But for what it's worth, the Bears, internally, both the front office and the coaching staff believe in this pick. And when you hear Ben Johnson talk about this pick like this, you clearly see that this was a pick that Ben Johnson wanted and needed, and Ryan Poles made it happen. And that's the way the collaborative thing that happens here is what happens. It is collaborative. So I think in regards to that, you just gotta take the good with the bad. And like I said, just because they didn't address what was the biggest need doesn't mean that it's necessarily a bad pick, right? It could be the wrong pick, but it doesn't mean that it was a bad pick. What I mean by that is all these players could turn out to be perfectly fine players. Now, and the pass rush could still be bad, right? Like both things could end up being true. And we just got to see what's going to happen there. So, Ben Johnson clearly sees the scheme and what's going to happen here. Dermot Smythe is gone. The Roush pick makes sense when you look at the 13 personnel, and Roush is an elite blocker. That's going to free up Colston Loveland to do a little bit more creative things in that game and hopefully help the run game take another step further as well. So, we'll see. Ben Johnson believes in it. And like I've said for many times before, I believe in Ben Johnson. I believe in Dennis Allen. I believe in Dan Roushar. I believe in Al Harris. I believe in these guys and what they're showing us. So therefore, I'm going to trust this until my eyes see otherwise. And when we get on the football field, if the pass rush looks trash, and I'm sitting there thinking we didn't need to draft another tight end, then, we'll all be in the same spot. So we'll see what's going to happen there. But let me know what you guys think down below in regards to Ben Johnson, his comments in regards to Sam Roush, and do you believe it? Now, with that said, let's move on. We are now going to be in heavy rumor. There are still a lot of really solid veteran free agents that are out there that could make sense for a lot of teams, right? And there's a lot of that. And then when you look at the New York Post, right, Ryan Dunleavy made a list of 10 best free agents available, and he had players that they're best available and marked the Chicago Bears as likely landed spots for those guys. So one was offensive tackle Sam Deckler and defensive end Cameron Jordan. Now, we've talked about Cameron Jordan here before, right? And you look at both these guys will be reunions with coaches that they worked for before. Ryan Dunleavy saying this in his blog. The best fit might be a reunion with Bears head coach Ben Johnson. Is Taylor Decker, former offensive coordinator, dealing with an injury to left tackle Ozzie Trapillo. The Bears ranked 31st in pass rush rate last season and didn't use a draft pick on the edge. Maybe defensive coordinator and former Saints head coach lures Cameron Jordan to the Chicago Bears. Now, again, Cameron Jordan worked basically his whole career with the Saints and has been under Dennis Allen a lot. Taylor Decker worked under Ben Johnson before. So would both these picks be solid picks for the team? And I think, yeah, right? These both guys have been connected to the Chicago Bears at different points with the season. Now, the Bears' current salary cap situation is not good right now. Now, we've worked up $10.7 million in cap space, right? A lot of that money is going to go to paying our rookies that we have coming through the draft as we get those guys signed to deals. And Ryan Poles has already shown himself that when it comes to, edge rushers, he may not be willing to pay like some people thought that he would be willing to, right? So I think overall, when you look at it like this, Decker would make some sense. I think that, Braxton Jones is coming back here to compete for the starting left tackle role. You have Theo Benedict who's coming back to compete for the starting left tackle role. Ozzie Trapillo's gone, so you have those type of things. Could Deckler come in, take a bit of a pay cut to be a veteran on that offensive line and come play for his former coach? We've seen weirder things happen in the NFL. So I'm not going to say that that's not something that could happen, right? I think that I would love to have Taylor Decker here. When you look at it, I think when you look at Taylor Decker, this is a guy that has a really good baseline, right? And when you talk about adding veterans at this point in an off season, you're looking at like guys that raise the floor, not necessarily ceiling risers, but guys that really raise the floor. And Decker, as somebody who has been in the league since 2016, he was a top 20 picked at number 16 by Detroit. Taylor Decker is definitely a player that can still come in and help. And I think when you look at the things that he allow, his strength in the passing game and rushing game, all those type of things, like this is a guy that comes in and raises the floor. And if Braxton Jones continues to have problems with the bull rush like we've seen before, why not take a shot at a veteran, bring in some competition in camp? The question really comes down to, can the Bears clear enough money, and how much would Taylor Decker be willing to take to come to the Chicago Bears? That's what we're looking at here. And I'll say this. For me, it would be a level of aggression that I for one, wouldn't hate seeing from the Chicago Bears, right? I would not hate to see that at all for the Chicago Bears to bring in a guy like Taylor Decker who just, again, raises the floor. And so if you bring that in to the Chicago Bears, you get somebody who comes in, he helps, stabilize some things. And I think the Bears, you want that offensive line to stay at the level that it was last season and take another step forward if you can. You're going to have some players that make leaps and stuff like that, so you now have an opportunity to get that done, and we'll see if the Bears can. Now, Cameron Jordan, though, is a guy that I think, and I know there are a lot of Bears fans, they go right to age. I don't give a fuck about it. If you're still productive, I don't give a shit about age, right? I'm going to be 100% honest with you. The last thing that I'm worried about is a player, no matter what the age is of Cameron Jordan, that's still very productive. Again, we're not signing him to be somebody to save the defensive line. We would be signing him for somebody who can bring in some added depth that we need there. This is a guy that just had 10.5 sacks last season, played all 17 games. As a matter of fact, he's never missed more than one game in the entirety of his NFL career that's lasted 15 years. Like, just think about that, right? Think about the number of games that players miss. And you mean to tell me that somebody who's been in the league since 2011, who's primarily played every game possible, but even then has not missed more than one game the entirety of his NFL career, and each season of his NFL career, that's somebody that I'd be willing to bet on. And the fact that he doesn't have a team yet, I know it comes down to age, but 10.5 sacks last year, right? And even if he doesn't repeat that, he had 4 sacks the year before that, 2 the year before that, 8.5 the year before that. Matter of fact, if you look at it, he's had more seasons of at least 7 sacks than anything else in his career. This is a guy that's been productive every year of his NFL career to varying degrees. Last year, he had 10.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles as well, 2 passes deflected. I tell you what, that's somebody that regardless of their age, I wouldn't hate being here in a Chicago Bears uniform. I just wouldn't. Now, there are going to be some people that look at that and say, oh my God, we're really going to bring in somebody that's that old. Like, hell, he's born in 1989. He's younger than me technically, right? So, no, I think he could still be a very productive player for this Bears team. And like I said, you're not signing him for him to be the thing that makes or breaks your team. You're signing him to bring some added depth. And I'll tell you what, I trust Cameron Jordan more than I would Dayo Odeyingbo. I would definitely do that. I think he's been more consistently productive over his career to bring that, and a familiarity with the system. We've talked about how important scheme is for this Bears team this year. For this Bears team that really wants to make another step up, it comes down to getting guys that can work in your system and in your scheme. And that is what happens with this team. And that's what's going to help take this team to the next level. So if Cameron Jordan or Taylor Decker, or hell, the Bears find a way to clear some money to bring in both those guys, great. Because they're both at positions of need that the Bears want to make sure stay strong enough heading into this year, because we need to improve it. So let's see if the Bears can get it done. Right now, I'll say this. Do I think it's likely that Chicago Bears add some veterans? If they do, it's not going to be guys that could be expensive as Cam Jordan or Taylor Decker. But at this point, too, if this goes on to right before training camp, you can probably get those guys fairly cheap. So, we'll see what happens there. It's something to monitor. I want to hear from you guys in this one. Bringing in some veterans at some key positions, even though, again, not necessarily ceiling raisers, but can raise the floor of the Chicago Bears. How do you guys feel about the Bears doing that? Should they be aggressive enough to go out there and get that done? Or do you think they should play it a little bit more safe, or just ride out with what you have? There are going to be some people that think and believe that as well. Let me know what you guys think on that part down below. With that said, I want to talk about the Bears draft a little bit more, right? So ESPN's Matt Miller wrote an article highlighting the top 100 picks in the NFL draft. And for what it's worth, the Chicago Bears got 3 picks out of that top 100. They may not seem like a lot, but it actually is, right? Dillon Thieneman, Malik Muhammad, and Keyshaun Elliott all cracked the top 100, right? And so let's get into why they said this one on this one. Of course, Dillon Thieneman, we already know why he got, that, like, a player that should have gone much higher. He could have gone as many as 10 spots higher than what the Chicago Bears got him. And many of us, myself included, did not think that Thieneman would be there for the Chicago Bears. And shout out to Steve-O, he got his boy, he got a Oregon Duck in here, right? So take that for what you will. But when you look at that pick, it is such a quality pick because of the scheme fit, because, somebody who was a lock to be in the top 20 at least, getting him 25th overall, that was a huge. The Bears filled a massive need at safety with one of the best players at that position in the draft. That's just what they were able to do. And the scheme, and I'm going to talk a lot about it, scheme, right? For my X's and O's people, the scheme fit that Thieneman does bring to this team is absolutely spectacular. So now you talk about pairing him with Kobe Bryant, that is going to be something that I think it's going to be a luxury. And I think it's going to be something that we see helps elevate this team some based off what it was last season, more than I think people are really giving it credit for. So the pick makes sense there. Then Malik Muhammad at pick number 46 saying this. The 4th round pick is getting a lot of praise as well. There were discussions that Muhammad will get drafted in the 2nd round, so falling as far as he did is a great value pick. The plan seems to be letting Muhammad sit for a year, then stepping into the starting when Tyreek Stevenson leaves in free agency. That is a smart way to invest in the 4th round. Malik Muhammad I talked about yesterday. This is a guy that does have the capability of taking that pick from Tyreek, taking that spot from Tyreek Stevenson. I'll go so far as to say this. I honestly do think, I'm being 100% honest with you here, don't overlook, like they say, let Malik Muhammad sit for a year, and that's definitely a possibility too. I don't want to act like that's not a possibility. It is, but I'll say this, do not overlook the chance of Malik Muhammad taking that starting position from Tyreek Stevenson this season. Do not overlook that this season. That could very well happen this season that Malik Muhammad has, because that guy is a shutdown corner in the wings waiting to happen. And, I know that a lot's been made over the last 48 hours in regards to once his reaction to the draft came out. As somebody else who can be very stoic in nature sometimes that's just the reaction of it. And I think when you see this kid get on the football field, this is going to be a guy that has a lot of promise. And I think that it is one of the best picks by the Chicago Bears. I'm being 100% honest with you, because getting that in round 4 was a great pick. And then Keyshaun Elliott, right? Saying this about Keyshaun Elliott. This is another pick where Miller is praising the team for taking a player who was highly ranked on his board but fell a round or so short for his projection. Elliott is a good fit, but the question is whether he can see the field. At the very least, he will start behind Devin Bush, TJ Edwards, and DeMarco Jackson, and he may still be behind Noah Sewell and Jack Sanborn. It makes this room even deeper and more talented, but it does speak to the reality that this is a best player available pick, not a need. Now, it depends on how you look at need, right? We've talked a lot about the fact that TJ Edwards could not be back, right? There's a possibility of that with the cap space and things going on there. Noah Sewell is a guy that's often injured. You can't bet on him. DeMarco Jackson was really good in Chicago Bears uniform, but, Keyshaun Elliott does bring at 6'2", 235 pounds. This is a guy that I think, even if he doesn't play a lot in year 1, I think he's going to put people on notice, absolutely. You look at 9 passes deflected over his collegiate career, 11.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 1 interception, 301 tackles. This is a guy that is a tackling machine waiting to happen. And he's been at some smaller schools. I think now coming and adapting to the NFL system, I trust I trust Dennis Allen to develop him and have the linebacker room ready. The Bears actually have a very deep linebacker. And after, letting Tremaine Edmonds go, cutting him, letting him go to another team, TJ Edwards may start off the season, hurt. We'll see what happens there. This is a room that I think that the Chicago Bears very much so understand the importance of. And Keyshaun Elliott is a guy that I believe in. I think that he's going to have a really good name. We'll see what happens when it comes down to that one. But the players that were left off this list, Logan Jones, who I actually think was a really good pick at a position of need, Sam Roush and Xavier Thomas were not praised in the same light, right? And the question now becomes about, do those guys prove it as well? I talked a lot about how good the draft class was in 2025, and we still didn't see a lot of those guys. No Zay Frazier, no real Ruben Hippolyte, Shamar Turner. Those are still guys that are still looking in last year's draft class to show and prove. You got guys in this year's draft class that I think can make an impact in year 1. Thieneman, of course, being the easier pick there. But I say this, don't count out Xavier Thomas or Logan Jones either to make impacts in their rookie years. I think Logan, especially if he can eventually take over that starting center position this year, which I don't think is off the table. It may just be a slower burn like we saw with Ozzie Trapillo. And Xavier Thomas is a guy that I predict is going to see his snap count increase as the season goes on, and he's trusted, learns the system and scheme a little bit more. But that speed that he has there, is going to be a legit weapon. And I see Ben Johnson really falling in love with the gadgetry that you can use Xavier Thomas in. But the fact of the matter is, you got to show and prove. And we'll see what they have in store for us with this draft pick and selection. But we're starting to see more and more of the national media give praise to the Chicago Bears. So I want to ask you guys this one. Hearing kind of that the national media and some of these outlets are higher on the Chicago Bears draft, like I said, there was only one outlet, that was USA Today, I believe, that ranked the Chicago Bears anything lower than a B for their draft class this year. Have you started to come around and watching more tape and stuff? Have you started to come around on this draft class a little bit more? We'll see. The Sam Roush pick is going to be debated for a while, but I do think Ben Johnson's explanation gives us a better look behind the scenes on why they valued him so much. You just got to see if that's going to come out on the football field. But I want to hear from you guys on this one. How do you feel about Ben Johnson's thoughts on the Sam Roush pick and the explanation? Would you want to see the Bears make a push for veterans Taylor Decker or Cameron Jordan? Drop your thoughts in the comment section down below on that. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel as well. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode or an upload. You can follow us at Shy Bear Central on every social media platform. You send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, which actually goes down tomorrow, 773-242-9336. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.